Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gyan Timirandasya. Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshrimalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 7, with commentary by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur. This begins with verse 12 of the 7th chapter. I will speak about the birth, the activities, and the death of King Parikshit, and the death march of the Pandavas, which will give rise to further discussions about Krishna. Commentary. The question of how a great yogi like Shukadeva became inclined to hear the Bhagavatam has now been answered. Now other questions of Parikshit, of how Parikshit heard the Bhagavatam while fasting till death, and other topics such as astonishing birth will be explained. This will lead into talks about the Lord. These topics give rise to talks about Krishna, since that is the aim of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The ultimate subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. So we've heard how, basically through the beginning of the Bhagavatam, how the Bhagavatam became inspired to be written by Vyasadeva after feeling despondency and gaining further insight from his spiritual master Narada Muni like this. So here now the subject matter goes on. I will speak about the birth, the activities, and the death of King Parikshit, because the subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam actually takes place, the full narration of it takes place with Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, when Maharaj Parikshit was cursed to die within 7 days. So that story will be described, and how this entire Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukadeva to Maharaj Parikshit for his ultimate spiritual benefit. After the warriors of both sides had met their end on the battlefield, this is the Battle of Kurukshetra, picking up at the end of the Mahabharata, both sides had met their end. The battle was over. Duryodhana had his thigh broken by a blow from the club of Bhima, when Ashwatthama, thinking that Duryodhana would be pleased, presented him with the severed heads of the sleeping sons of Draupadi. Oh, everyone condemned this horrible act, even Duryodhana himself. Commentary. The story is now told in order to show how Parikshit, even in the womb, was able to see Krishna. When Ashwatthama beheaded the sons of Draupadi, the mother began to weep. This sentence extends for 3 verses. Kaurava refers to Duryodhana's party. Shinjaya refers to the Pandavas' party, since Drishtadyumna is of the Shinjaya family. Viragatim means liberation or swarga, by the method described by Bhishma. We will hear how Bhishma, also lying on the deathbed, gave instructions. That blow that inflicted by the club was thrown by Bhima, which then shattered the thigh of Duryodhana. Thinking that Duryodhana would be pleased, we see that Ashwatthama was disturbed, mentally disturbed. He saw that this battle had taken place, and so, but they were on the losing side, really. The Pandavas were on the winning side. So he thought, what should I do to please my master, Duryodhana? And then he thought, the thorn in our side are these Pandavas, so I will kill the sleeping sons of Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, and bring their heads as a gift to Duryodhana. That was his thinking. But no one was pleased with that idea, just somehow overcome with this kind of bizarre behavior due to seeing defeat. He thought, what could I do to encourage my master? But of course he was thinking wrongly. Thinking Duryodhana would be pleased, he presented the heads of the sleeping sons of the Pandavas. And it's specifically mentions they were sleeping, that he went into their tent and severed their heads. They weren't even fighting on battle. That would be another instance. Okay, that may be pleasing if he could defeat them in battle. But no, they were sleeping. And this actually was not at all pleasing to Duryodhana. After feeling joy that his enemies had been killed, he began to lament, since he understood that his enemies, such as Bhima, had not been killed on seeing that gift. He understood that children had been killed, and that the Kuru dynasty had been destroyed. Thus he died with both joy and sorrow. Therefore, here it is said, all people condemned this horrible act. It was not something pleasing to him. When Ashwatthama, thinking that Duryodhana would be pleased, presented him with the severed heads of the sleeping sons of Draupadi, everyone condemned that horrible act, even Duryodhana himself. How could you do such a thing? Commentary states that thinking that Duryodhana would be pleased, he presented the heads of the sleeping sons of the Pandavas to him. Actually, Duryodhana was not pleased with this action. After feeling joy that his enemies had been killed, he began to lament, since he understood that his enemies, such as Bhima, had not been killed on seeing the gift, and the children had been destroyed. Duryodhana died with a feeling of both joy and sorrow. There was some joy there from the fighting and like that, but sorrow in this horrible act. Therefore, he said, all people would condemn such a horrible act. At that time, their mother, hearing of the terrible death of her youthful sons, pained, eyes full of tears, began to lament. Naturally, she was horrified also and began to cry that her sons had been killed. And then Arjuna spoke up to pacify her. I will remove your sorrows when I present to you, using arrows released from my bow, that head of the lowest of Brahmanas. Here he is identified as a Brahmin, but he's the lowest of Brahmanas, Brahma-Bandhu. That aggressor who had weapons in his hand, he slayed sleeping children. If one is an aggressor, one has the right to act upon that aggressor. And so Arjuna thought, I will act upon this lowest of Brahmanas, this Brahma-Bandhu, who killed the sleeping sons of my wife, actually is their sons, while they were sleeping. Thus pacified with many sweet words, Arjuna, whose friend and charioteer was Krishna, holding his terrifying bow with Hanuman on the flag, put on his armor and pursued Ashwatthama on his chariot. Achyuta Mitra Sutaha, who had Krishna as his friend and charioteer. He put on his armor, seeking justice. Seeing Arjuna pursuing on his chariot from far off, that killer of children became disturbed in mind. Desiring to save his life, he fled as fast as he could over the ground, just as Brahma fled out of fear of Shiva. Commentary. When Brahma, this is the references, he fled fast over the ground like Brahma fled from fear of Shiva. That reference is when Brahma became desirous of his daughter, taking the form of a deer, he fled in fear from Shiva. In the same manner, Ashwatham fled from Arjuna. In another version, the word arka or son is used. And in this story from the Vamana Purana, it describes a demon named Vidyun Mali, a follower of Shiva, who pursued the sun on a golden chariot given by Shiva. Due to the effulgence from the chariot, night disappeared. The sun became angry and melted the chariot with his heat and made it fall from the sky. Shiva appeared and the sun fled in fear. That sun fell down at Varanasi and became known as Lolarka, the unsteady sun. This is another reference to him fleeing from Arjuna. When he understood he had no one to protect him, and his horses were exhausted, that Brahmabandhu, or son of a Brahmin, considered using the Brahma-Astra to protect himself. So he became fearful himself and thought, what can I do to counteract this aggression now of Arjuna as he's approaching? What can he do? All he thought was, let me call upon the Brahma-Astra weapon. Astra means weapon, and Brahma means the weapon of Brahma or the weapon of Brahman. Sometimes it is identified with the atomic bomb, atomic weapon, like that. He had no protector. So what could he do? He considered that the Brahmastra would be a method of protecting himself. If he would shoot that Brahmastra out, that Astra of Brahma or Brahman, the power of that atom we know is very great. And so if he sent that out, they could do this by mantra in those days. He would send it out by mantra and see to the demise of Arjuna. That was his thinking. The word here also is used, dvijatmaja, which means he was short-sighted. He didn't understand the consequence of such an action. He sat down and he sipped some water, and he concentrated his mind. He did achman, and then focused his mind, and then visualized sending that mantra, sending that weapon out through the power of the mantra. But he did not know how to withdraw it. But he did it because his life was in danger. Seeing the fierce fire manifesting in all directions was danger to life. And so Arjuna spoke to Krishna. Arjuna said, Krishna, Krishna Mahabaho, Bhaktanam Abhayankara. O Krishna, O mighty armed one, mighty armed Lord, bestower of fearlessness in your devotees. You alone are the deliverer of all those who are burning in the fire of material existence. This is one kind of fire, but all living beings are burning in the samsara, the fire of material life. You are the very form of liberation. You can deliver us from material existence. Therefore, you can also deliver us from this fire. You deliver mankind from the fire of material existence, so certainly you can deliver us from this fire through the weapon of this Brahmastra. You are the original Lord, the controller beyond material energy. You are situated in your spiritual form, being one with your spiritual energy and separate from the material energy. So this is the first place in the Bhagavatam that Krishna is actually seen. It's due to this circumstance that begins with the story of how Ashwatthama threw this Brahmastra weapon at Arjuna. Arjuna was angry, of course, because the sleeping sons of Draupadi had been killed, and he gathered his weapons and went with Krishna. Krishna was the chariot driver. as in the Battle of Kurukshetra. And so this is the first introduction to Krishna. And the first statement is, Krishna, Krishna, O mighty armed Lord, bestower of fearlessness to your devotees. You are the deliverer of all those who are burning in the fire of material existence. This is how Krishna is identified here. The first time. There's reference when there's the list of incarnations, we know, and Krishna's tu Bhagavan Shrayam. But that was the only mention really of Krishna until this point. And so the first prayer that is delivered is through Arjuna's mouth. And he says, Krishna, Krishna Mahabaho, O mighty armed Lord, O Krishna, bestower of fearlessness in your devotees, Abhaya Ankara, you who free the devotees, Abhaya, from all fear. You alone are the deliverer of all those who are burning in the fire of samsara. You, then he goes on to say, Tvam adya prushaha, sakshat ishvaraha, prakritehe paraha, mayam buddhyasya chaktya kaivalye stita atmani. So this establishes who is Krishna through Arjuna's words. You are the original Lord. Tvam, you, adya prusha. You are the original Purusha. Govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. You are the original Purusha. Sakshat Ishvaraha. You are the supreme controller. You are beyond material energy. Prakrite paraha. Mayam. You are situated in your own spiritual energy, in your own spiritual form, being one with your spiritual energy, and separate or distinct from your material energy. Commentary. I am your cousin and equal to you. Do not speak like this. Krishna is saying, I am your cousin. Why are you speaking like this? Arjuna replies, oh, don't bring this up. I know who you are. You are the Adi Purusham. You are beyond Prakriti. By Prakriti, do you mean ignorance or Maya? Distancing yourself from Maya, composed both of Vidya and Advidya. Unfortunate because it is your external energy. You are situated in your own spiritual form, along with your auspicious Chit Shakti, arising from your Sarup, who are like your principal queen. Arjuna says, I know who you are. Don't try to trick me and bring us into the idea of I am simply a cousin like this. No, you should remember, you showed me your universal form. We see that in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna establishes himself clearly in Arjuna's mind that he is the Supreme Lord from the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken in the Mahabharata, and this takes place after. So he says, I know who you are. You are the Adi Purusham, and I'm taking shelter of you in this dangerous situation. But since I am the cause of the spiritual energy, I'm different from it. How can it be situated in my form? This is like a conversation going back and forth. It is one with you. Though it is with you, it is one with you, because it is your Sarup Shakti. So Arjuna is saying, I know who you are, and I know your power. I know how you are situated in your own spiritual form, and this your own spiritual energy. And this material energy, I understand, is distinct from you, and yet not distinct. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, that it is distinct but not distinct, and you are the liberator of the conditioned souls within this world. And so I know you can extinguish this fire that is forcefully approaching us. Factually, you are situated in your spiritual form. This is your Chit Shakti arising from your own Sarup. It is always non-different from you and is situated in the form of your body, senses, and associates. Shruti says, Parasya Shaktir Vivadaya Vashruyate Sabhavika Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. All that exists is you and your energies. Krishna is everything in one sense. What exists is Godhead and all of his energies. Krishna is that supreme Godhead, and everything that exists is his energy, even the Maya Shakti. So, the Lord has many intrinsic energies, identified as Gyan and Bala and Kriya, knowledge, strength, action. Maya is a shadow, and it remains in the form of the material world, composed of the three gunas, where duality exists, both knowledge and ignorance, vidya and avidya. Because all of this does not arise from your sarup, it is different from you. In one sense it is different, in one sense it is non-different. Like the shadow is non-different from the person. Maya is the backside or the shadow of the Lord. This is how it is considered. That Maya is like the shadow of the Lord, the dark element, the light and the dark. Like this. Thus, this Shakti is different and yet non-different from you. Achintya Beta Beta. Though you are non-different from your own spiritual energy, you benefit all the jivas who are bewildered by your Maya Shakti through the power of giving them Vedic knowledge in the form of Dharma, Artha, and Kam. So you've appeared to enlighten mankind. You've given the Vedic path. You appear in this world in this way, in your own spiritual form, with the desire to relieve the burden of the earth and to give continuous happiness to your dedicated devotees by letting them worship you. Why have you appeared in this world? Well, Krishna already told Arjuna, Jada Jada hi dharmasya glanir bharata. Whenever there is a decline in the religious principles, I appear to reestablish them. Arjuna says, you appear in this world. You already told me. To uplift mankind, and thus you appear in your own spiritual form, with a desire to relieve the burden of the earth, and thus give continuous happiness to mankind, who are your dedicated devotees, giving them the opportunity to worship you. Krishna also states, Patra pushpam palam toyam, a little fruit, a little flower, give me something, and your life will become perfect. If you give that to me with love, then your life becomes perfect. Krishna says, I don't require many things, a flower, a fruit. What I want is your love. So here, Arjuna says, you've appeared within this world so mankind can worship you, and your desire is to see to the upliftment of mankind, to their happiness, and you've given them a simple path. Give me a flower, a fruit, give me your love. O Supreme Lord, what is this? I do not know where it has come from. Now again, back to the Brahma-Astra. So now turning his attention, after offering his prayers, that we are in this situation right now, that I do not know where it has come from. There is a most ferocious fire spreading out in all directions. We'll stop at this point here. Now that Krishna has been introduced as the Adi Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the liberator of mankind, from the words of Arjuna, the beginning of the introduction to Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we'll go back to the situation at hand where Arjuna is facing this weapon coming towards him, this giant fireball, we can say, the Brahma-Astra weapon, and praying to Krishna to somehow or other give the solution by which this can be counteracted. Gaur Premanandi Haribo Jai Shri Radhe Sham Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.